Okay.
We are going live in 3, 2, and 1.
This is the Apparently Autistic podcast,
where we unmask the spectrum
with real voices
and real experiences.
We're your hosts, Keith Holloway
and Bridget Holloway.
And I am apparently autistic. Before we get started, just a quick reminder. We're not experts in anything except our own personal experiences and perspectives.
Be sure to check out the important disclaimers and disclosures in the show notes.
Now let's dive in. Okay, welcome to another episode of the Apparently Autistic podcast.
Welcome.
We're your hosts, Keith.
And Bridget.
Yeah, she got me to drop the last name part.
It's too formal. We're casual around here.
That's right. This week, we were going to do an episode about executive dysfunction. And my autistic brain said, instead of talking about it, let me show them.
So, first of all, we need to say what is executive dysfunction for those in our audience who may not know.
Well, executive function is your ability to do your daily tasks or do the things that you need to do. Everything from brushing your teeth, to taking showers, just having the energy to do normal
regular day-to-day things, not like the extras,
things.
but
not
just
necessarily
regular day-to-day things.
Yeah. And so obviously executive dysfunction is difficulty with that. Yeah. So.
And sometimes just like the complete inability to do it.
Right.
You just, something in you says, no, we cannot do this.
And I think since we're on episode 8, this has become a regular thing, and my body's like,
no, not now.
We don't want to do that now.
Yeah.
Add the fact that I'm still dealing with some burnout, trying to dig out from burnout, and you have us sitting down ready to record an episode that we didn't prepare anything for.
Right.
So, at least not until about 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Well, and it didn't help that I worked 60 hours this week, and we had some end of school year band camp stuff going on with the kiddo, and just a whole bunch of odds and ends things that aren't our norm. So our bodies didn't want to do the norm.
Nope.
So anyways, that's executive dysfunction. And this week we were going to talk about it, and we still kind of are, because it just kind of is a prime example of how that happens. So
it's an important topic that I think deserves a whole episode, and I'd like to actually get some good stuff. So we'll do that. We'll try that for next week again. But instead, we turned to good old faithful ChatGPT. It helps me word things the way I like, helps me come up with titles. I'll use it and say, hey, let's brainstorm titles for episodes about this. And it throws me a bunch of ideas. And usually I end up picking something that's a little bit of one and a little bit of another.
Yeah, kind of creating your own from it.
So we had it come up with some fun questions we can ask each other to fill out an episode, and some other stuff to talk about.
Relevant to the topic, relevant to autism and us and things like that, but just still kind of a more casual, fun episode.
Yep. First, though, let's plug our merch again. So, I don't know, if you're watching, you can see I've got our Apparently Autistic podcast.
And just to describe it for those listening, it is a dark navy blue
available
baseball
in other colors,
cap, and it's one of the fitted caps, isn't it?
They're the fitted ones. So comes in the it's not fitted, but it's like the stretch fit. So there's the small, medium size that has a stretch fit, and then the large, extra large size, I believe, is what I have.
And then the front is all capital letters in white stitching, and it says apparently autistic on it. So
and on the back,
a good-looking cap.
It says thinking cap.
Yep.
I'm not going to turn it all the way around to show everybody.
In smaller letters.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I want to do some other designs for baseball caps. Honestly, I love, like, this type of cap is the kind that I prefer.
Yeah.
I have some hats for, like, my work.
You've always preferred the fitted ones.
Yeah. So it's actually a good quality hat. It's not. This is not a cheapo hat either. Yeah. And I'm wanting to do some other kinds of logos or things for these hats too. But yeah.
And also, if you guys have something that you want as far as merch goes, like if you
have an idea,
you're like, oh, I really like that hat, but I want it to say something different relevant to autism, reach out to us. It might be something that we can do. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, definitely. I'm wearing today the NeuroAnchor t-shirt. Mm-hmm. And actually I've got a couple of these sample shirts since you started the store, and I've been impressed with the quality. The shirts are a decent
well, they're usually, I think most of the ones that I've done, because I can choose like the brands, and I think most of them is the Gildan brand, I think it is.
Yeah.
Which is a good quality shirt.
They're soft and comfy, and the fit is good, so true to size. And
so she's got the NeuroAnchor shirt, and she actually has the version before I changed it up a little bit. It has the NeuroAnchor, and then the actual picture of the anchor on it, and then the kind of definition or like, well, here, let me read it for those who aren't. It says, not here to steer, here to steady, rooted in love, present in the storm. So that's all on the front. And then after that, Bridget actually was like, you should put the definition thing on the back of the shirt. So I've changed the design. So she's actually got a one of a kind, pretty much. But yeah, you can buy a shirt like that has the NeuroAnchor and the picture of the anchor on the front, and then the rest of the wording, the kind of definition on the back of it. Yeah. Still really nice. Looks really nice.
Available in how many different colors? There's several different colors.
Quite a few different colors.
Yeah, you can kind of pick
every
what
time
you
I
like,
make the shirt, I just kind of click. Like there's only a certain number of variations you can choose. And I like, like your light green color. I don't remember what the name of that one.
Or something.
But yeah. But they have a lot of cool colors. Got some. There's some shirts on there that I thought would be really cool for people who are either usually nonverbal, or sometimes you just have a day where you don't want to interact and you want to be nonverbal. And it's a shirt that just says, I'm nonverbal and would prefer not to interact today. Thanks for understanding. And I think that'd be a good shirt for some people to wear sometimes, and just
in certain situations, it might be
kind of a way to advocate for yourself and ask for space without having to interact with anyone.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine too many people being rude and challenging that.
Yeah.
So anyways, check out our merch store. Like I said, it was a fun thing. I wouldn't mind if we made a little bit to help pay for the costs of the podcast, but we're not doing this to do this as a job. We're doing it for
I'll probably get more involved with the store in coming weeks. And
Bridget's a lot better with like business stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you kind of take over the store part of it.
Well, and balance out some of the tasks. You do most of the editing, so I can help out with that. So anyways, just something.
Yep.
Something fun.
Check us out. It's I think it's Apparently Autistic Podcast at myshopify.com. I'll try to put it in the links too.
Yeah.
But yeah, check that out. And then was going to touch on a couple of autism news stories that came up that I was thinking about talking about. Anyways, the first one, I saw a news story. Basically, a Swedish study that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association on neurology. And I'm going to use my phone here. It says, has identified a significant link between autism spectrum disorder and an increased risk of developing early-onset Parkinson's disease. And essentially, they analyzed data from over 2 million individuals between 1974 and 1999, and researchers found that people with autism are approximately 4 times more likely to develop Parkinson's before the age of 50 compared to those without autism. And it suggests that shared disruptions in the brain's dopamine system could underlie both conditions. And that makes sense because we know dopamine is definitely a what's the word for it? It's definitely involved in autism. We're kind of like chasing the dopamine.
Yeah.
ADHD too, especially.
Right.
Chasing the dopamine. But yeah, it says dopamine plays a crucial role in movement and social behavior. Even after accounting for the factors like medication use and mental health conditions, the elevated risk remains significant, indicating a potential biological overlap between ASD and Parkinson's. Now, it's important to note that it is an increased risk for autistic people, but it's still a low risk.
Yeah.
Like it's still pretty rare, but it's more likely if you have autism, which is kind of interesting. It caught my attention because, as we've said on here a lot of times, we're pretty sure my dad's autistic, and my dad has Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And when he was diagnosed with stage 4 Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So
pretty advanced.
Almost makes me wonder, especially knowing, he's had issues with movement and stuff in the past that was kind of explained away with other explanations.
Yeah. Maybe they were earlier signs.
Yeah. So maybe like he got diagnosed with stage 4 in his 70s. Maybe he was actually, developing Parkinson's at an earlier age and just wasn't.
I think entirely possible. Yeah. It's just an interesting connection that kind of caught our attention. And since it was in the news this week, we thought we'd kind of touch on it a little bit and
I
bring
will
it up.
Put some links attached to that.
Yeah.
So you can see I'm not just pulling this out of thin air to come up with something.
Well, and just like so many things, there's a lot of different like comorbidities and like different things that go along with autism. So it's like important to bring those to light too, so that people can be aware. And if you start seeing signs of those things, you can look into it to make sure that you catch things early, because early intervention is one of the best things aside from prevention, and you can't always prevent it. So
well, and like with Parkinson's, I've always had this, I don't even know how to explain, almost this feeling like I'm like destined to develop Parkinson's too. I don't know why. Part of it is because I feel like I see such a connection between some of the issues I've faced and my dad has faced, my back issues, my knee issues, stuff like that. And all of those, again, we can explain a lot of those away. Back issues from firefighting and getting an injury to my back early on in my firefighting career, my knees and my back pretty much being finished off when I worked the ramp.
Yeah.
But there could be other things involved there too. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
For those who don't know the history, Keith was a firefighter for 17 years, both volunteer and full time. And then he worked the ramp at the airport, a baggage handler and all of the ramp duties
climbing in and out of
airplanes
and unloading and unloading airplanes.
You did that for almost 2 years before you
almost 2 years
got your dispatch license.
Yep.
Anyways, just a little bit of background so you guys understand the references. But and
working the ramp, if you're already feeling a little run down, that'll finish you off. That can finish you off
definitely.
The other news story I kind of wanted to touch on, since our first episode was about RFK Jr. and that ridiculousness. And I'm just going to, full disclosure, I have not read this report. I don't know everything that's in it, so I'm not going to pretend that I know the report. It's definitely something I'm going to read as soon as I get the executive function to do anything else.
And you will, and I'm sure we'll probably follow up on it after you've read it. But
the news reports about it, it's a report that's been out for a while apparently, but it was recently reported that, again, this was, so the White House put out what it called the Make America Healthy Again report, and it was led by the Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and it cited at least 7 studies, apparently, that don't exist. Like papers that were apparently written or studies that apparently, that they're saying support their claims and their data or whatever. And it turns out those don't even exist.
Interesting.
And I know that some authors that were cited as being authors of these studies have come forward and said, nope, didn't write that study, didn't do that.
It's kind of scary. Like if you want to make a claim, cite it with a source of a real existing person and say that it's in this paper, and like that sounds credible to people. They don't really usually go looking for those papers. Well, so it's kind of a scary.
It's one thing I always tell people, like if you really want to make sure that you are not getting misinformation, fake news, whatever, always dig into the sources.
Check the sources.
Check the sources.
And it's that whole trust but verify thing.
Yeah. First of all, are they going to actually cite sources? If they don't even cite any sources for what they're saying, and they even, like, sometimes you'll ask someone, well, what's your source for that? If they say, oh, everyone knows, or I'm not going to tell you, or whatever.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm just going to throw out that information. That doesn't mean it's automatically wrong, but I'm not going to base anything on it until I see good sources. So it seems that some people will say, oh, well, let's just cite things. And again, I'm not saying this is what they did. It just seems like it could be what they did. Let's just
face
cite
value
stuff
before we look at it more. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, well, this is an official report. We should cite things in it. And then people just kind of make up citations. And this isn't like college where you are like, oh, I know that this is a thing that's true. Now I need to find somewhere that says it and then just cite it as where I got the information. Like, this is an official report. It should be.
Yeah.
And
it's sad because a lot of people depend on that.
Yeah. In addition, besides the whole citing papers that didn't exist, apparently there were several footnotes that contained OAI cite, all run together, and which is a marker or an indicator that OpenAI ChatGPT was used to generate the content. Now, I've used ChatGPT to help me out in coming up with slogans, things like that. I don't think there's a problem.
It's a tool.
Using it, right. Using it as a tool.
Use it, yeah.
If you're an expert in a field and writing a paper in that field, you shouldn't be using ChatGPT to help you. Right. I wouldn't think you should be using ChatGPT to help you. Yeah. Even like I don't see a problem running it through to edit things. But again, if you're an expert in a field and you're writing a paper for a medical journal, you shouldn't need it for that either.
Yeah.
Really. You should be professional enough to. This is why spelling matters and proper grammar matters and stuff like that.
Right.
That helps show that you're an educated person.
Yeah.
So that, of course, throws a lot of question marks into the veracity of it, because ChatGPT is not always going to get, facts right either. So you shouldn't, I want to know about this subject, and just ask ChatGPT to give you the information and then just take it all at face value.
Right. It's a compilation of information, like all the information out there that it grabs from, and I'm sure that it can get wires crossed and combine things that don't really go together, and it could do all sorts of things. So it's that whole, like, you have to go through and make sure that what you're putting out there is accurate and what you're really wanting to say.
And ChatGPT will tell you where it got its information. So if you are like just wanting to learn about something and you ask ChatGPT to give you information about something, it will. And then it will give you its sources, and you can go look at the sources and go, because it's just pulling stuff off the internet. It may
summarizing
not necessarily
it, kind of.
It may not necessarily be pulling it from, something that's accurate itself.
Right.
So you can look at its sources and check it out and make sure that it's good. Is
Mala,
she out?
Yeah, she is. She's.
Mala is sleeping on my leg.
Yeah. A little side note here, squirrel moment. For those who just listen, we never really introduced our dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Mala is, she's about 22 pounds, and we got her as my ESA, and she's really just a family dog. She loves everybody. But she is sassy as can be, and we never knew what her breed was. But recently we found out she is likely and we haven't had her DNA tested or anything, where I'm still curious to do that to see if there's mixture of anything, but we really think that she's a Portuguese Padango Pequeño. And if you have never heard of it, which you probably haven't, we hadn't, look it up, and all the characteristics fit her. So she's just sassy and fun and loving and smart little thing, but she is sacked out on Keith right now.
The Portuguese Padango breed they didn't even wasn't even in the U.S. until the 90s, apparently. And the Pequeño is like the version of the Padango, the small variation of
it. But they're actually hounds.
Yeah, they're hound dogs, and
hunting
the
dogs.
bigger versions of them, really good hunting dogs. The little Pequeños like her are good for like hunting rabbits and getting into burrows and stuff, apparently.
Which I can totally see.
Yep.
She needs a job. I said that from the day we got her. I said this dog needs a job, and I used to have her like she'd follow me into the bedroom when I was getting dressed, and I used to give her a pair of my socks to bring out to the living room for me. She'd just carry them.
She'd be like, "Here, take these to Dad."
She just carry them in her mouth and take them to wherever you wanted her to, and like she needs a job. Anyways, she's funny. And then we have Harvey, who's. It's okay, Harvey, I'll lie for you. He's about 40 pounds, and he is, he's a mixed breed. He looks kind of like a Jack Russell, but he's big for a Jack Russell. He's like...
They told us Jack Russell and Chihuahua mix.
But
and
he's
we're like,
definitely
no, there's
not.
no way.
Yeah.
We think that there's maybe a little bit of boxer.
Just because of his face.
Got a kind of a boxer look to it.
He has some floppy ears and some brown spots on him, and he's just...
When we got him, he was our second dog, and... we had Bridget's dog, Skippy, and he was an old grumpy man dog.
Yeah, he was the old man.
He was the old man. He just wanted to lay on his mama's lap. That's all he wanted in life.
Yep, that's what he lived for.
And Harvey was this young pup that came in and was very energetic and wanted to play. And Skippy would play with him sometimes, but usually he was like, leave me alone, kid.
Yeah.
And now... Harvey's the old grumpy dog.
He's that to Mala, yes.
And Mala wants to play.
And he actually plays with her more than Skippy did, but he's definitely chilled out a lot since we've had him. We got him April of 2020. He was a COVID dog.
Yep.
And he's right here next to me laying under the blanket. He always wants to be under the blanket and right up next to his human. So anyways, there are ESAs. He was meant to be Keith's ESA because I had Skippy at the time, and he kind of just picks his human too. We're kind of interchangeable with the dogs.
It's funny because, Mala's really smart. We know that, and she's always shown really smart. Harvey can be kind of doofy sometimes, it seems.
Oh, we call him the derpy dog.
Yeah, but it's like when they're needed for what they're like what they're needed for, like they know.
Oh, they definitely have some strong instinct. He stands guard for you when you're like at your limits. He'll sit next to you and be on high alert, like nobody's coming close to you. I'll take care of it.
When we were driving from Ohio down to Dallas, driving all of the stuff,
moving.
Moving. It was before we got Mala, because we got Mala out here, so we just had Harvey, and we stopped in Little Rock for the night.
Yep.
And I was just...
I had to go to the store for something
that
we needed for the night.
And I was just completely, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I just needed to just sit and just be able to just watch. And Harvey knew. He sat on that bed. When he knows he needs to be in that mode, he'll sit there and he'll make sure he's touching me.
He almost backs up to you so that he's watching out everything that's coming towards you.
Yep, and he just stands guard.
Yeah. Which was interesting. I mean, they were in the hotel room, not where anybody else was around, but he was like, I'm here for you, Dad. So it's definitely they're both good, intuitive, loving dogs. And sometimes I wonder.
They've had no real training. I think we could train up Mala pretty good.
Yeah, she's very receptive to commands. Smart. Again, Harvey's the derpy dog. I mean, he's smart too, and he'll do whatever you want him to do. He follows commands around the house, but yeah. Anyways, good dogs, and we haven't really introduced them much, but we occasionally make references to them on the podcast, so I want people to kind of know.
If you want to see what they look like, and all you do is listen to the podcast, check our YouTube channel out. With the exception of last week, we always put a video of our podcast out there too. Last week we had another issue with the camera, and so we just posted audio only. So yeah, check that out. You can see how ridiculous Mala is just laying here asleep now. I think she wore herself out.
Yeah, she must have. She's so funny.
Okay. So pretty much for the rest of the episode that we were going to do, we again used ChatGPT as a resource and came up with just some kind of fun lighthearted questions to ask each other last week.
Centered around autism and living with autism, but just...
Last week, last week's episode, if you haven't heard it, it was me interviewing Bridget, more along the lines of just kind of her backstory and then our story of getting together, and then kind of, her perspective on when I was diagnosed and going through things and stuff like that. So
life of living with a spouse with autism.
So especially if you have a spouse that is neurodivergent, or especially was just diagnosed, that's a good episode to check out. And don't hesitate to comment any questions. You can email us questions, anything. Like, reach out to us on any of our social media sources. Yeah, we will happily respond.
And I mean, this isn't really exactly that, but if you have a suggestion for an episode or something that you want to know more about, that you want us to look into, and you want our take on it, suggest those too. Yeah. We're open to that. So anyways.
For sure. Okay, so here's some fun questions. We're going to kind of go back and forth and ask each other. Why don't you go first, since I interviewed you last week? So okay. You ask the first question.
All right, first question. This is for you, obviously, because you're the only other person here. What is your ultimate autistic comfort zone? Like setup, room, lighting, snacks, everything.
I mean, if it's like at home, I would say one of my like special interest movies, like Lincoln or Gladiator.
Pause. Do you want to shut him down?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Sorry, Bruce just showed up for work. Bruce is our shark vacuum.
Okay, funny story about Bruce, since we're on it now. It's one of those shark automatic vacuums. So we're going to edit that out, but we're going to let people know that the dogs just went crazy.
Okay.
After Bridget went to send Bruce back to his dock, the dogs went crazy because they thought they heard something outside. And usually if one of them thinks they hear something and starts reacting, the other one starts reacting.
And they feed off of ridiculous.
Each other. Yep. Anyways, so we have one of those automatic vacuums. It's a Shark brand vacuum, and you can name it. And I decided to name it Bruce. And I told Bridget I was naming it Bruce, and then sent her a gift from Finding Nemo, where they're all like, "Oh, hello, Bruce." And she was just like, "Oh, yeah, that's funny." And then it was like a day or so ago. Not ago, day or so ago, but like a day or so after. And she was like, "Okay, don't judge me, but I just got the whole Bruce thing." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, I thought you just called him Bruce so you could do the hello, Bruce. She's like, "It took me a while to realize that was the name of one of the sharks in Finding Nemo, and
it's a shark brand."
A shark brand.
I'm not an unintelligent person.
No, you're not. You're a very intelligent
But
person.
I definitely have my share of blonde moments, and thankfully I'm the kind of person that can just like embrace it and laugh with everybody else. Half the time when I do stuff, you don't even know about it, but I have to tell you out loud because I think it's funny. So
I'm the same way. So
anyways, that was definitely one of those moments. I'm like, you're not going to believe this, but I just got that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get back to the questions.
Yes, back to the questions. Okay, I'm just going to go with my number one again. I'll just reread it because what is your ultimate autistic comfort zone? Setup, room, lighting, snacks, and everything.
Okay, so I'm just going to say that I can't pick just one. And part of that is because I'm autistic, and if someone says, "What's your favorite anything?" your brain is like, "I don't know anything now." But no, I think one of them is definitely sitting in my recliner, watching one of my movies that I like, either Lincoln or Gladiator. Or The Fugitive. That's another one that I really like. Yeah. And sometimes it depends on the mood that I'm in. But like watching one of those movies, and just, especially like if I had people watching it with me, that makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But usually I watch these movies so often that most people in the house are like, eh.
Most people don't want to watch those movies that many times, but you could watch them every day.
Yep. Another example would be like sitting at Founders Plaza
Okay, we got to finish the first one though. What about like lighting, snacks?
Oh, lighting. Yeah, it's got to be dark. Usually. The deal with lighting though is like the kitchen light has to be off because that makes a big glare on the screen.
But you want the light on in the living room, the next room over.
The next room over, yeah. Usually, since I work nights on my nights off, I like to keep the light in this room on, so it doesn't feel like the whole house is really dark because then it feels like I'm in a cave.
Yeah. The rooms are adjacent to each other.
Yeah.
There's a big doorway between them, like a archway. But there's one that's like our crash room where our TV and our recliners and where we really just like sit and relax most of the time. And then there's this room where we sit to do the podcast. It's more of like a sitting room.
Yeah.
Like just upright couches, no recliners, no TV, just more of that. So. Yep.
If I have snacks, then I definitely want the light in the room that I'm in on too. But sometimes depending on the movie. I think Interstellar's another one that would be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm watching Interstellar, I have to be able to watch it with the sound all the way up, though.
Yeah.
Like, sound's got to be up. We have surround sound now. I think that's probably the main movie we even got the surround sound for. But yeah, gotta have the good sound on and the lights off.
Yeah.
Preferably for that one. But yeah, that's probably the.
You like popcorn?
The one. I do.
We almost always have to have popcorn in the house.
Yeah.
Ice cream is another big one. It has to be Bluebell ice cream. Well, it doesn't have to be, but you prefer Bluebell ice cream.
We live in Texas now, so it has to be Bluebell.
Okay,
sorry.
That's fair. No, I mean, that's fair. That's accurate.
Yeah. Ice cream is one of my. It's so good, but I know I'm gonna pay the price. It's not good for my stomach.
The dairy, yeah. You like cold snacks, so you went on a kick with Tropsicles. Another one of my blonde moments. Anyways, sugar-free popsicles, the fruit kind. Last year, you were going through those things like crazy when it was so hot.
Addiction.
But you just like cold snacks, and ice cream, I think, just falls into that category. But if it's like a fruity popsicle or something, you like that just as much. And it doesn't destroy you.
Bridget found these little Italian ice cups, and those are really good.
I found them at Winco, and I hope they keep carrying them because you really like them.
Yeah, they're really, really good. I really like the root beer flavor ones, but there's not any of them that I won't eat.
Yeah.
So I'll probably run out of the root beer first, but then I'll just eat the other ones.
Sounds about right. Anyways, yep. So snacks-wise, do you think of anything else? You are almost always want to have your Dr. Pepper Zero.
Yep. Dr. Pepper Zero, and they have the new blackberry flavor is amazing. So that's my new favorite.
It
Dr.
is
Pepper
rather
Zero
tasty. Yep.
Blackberry. Dr. Pepper, send me money. I will definitely promote your stuff.
You would wear their stuff.
My gosh.
You would, yeah.
I used to have a Dr. Pepper hat. I used to have a Dr. Pepper shirt. I used to have a Dr. Pepper pillow in the shape of a big Dr. Pepper soda can. Yep.
Yeah, you told me about that. I never saw it, but
it is the nectar of the gods.
Yeah, you've always enjoyed that. So yeah, okay, cool.
Yep, I'd say that pretty much covers it. Is that good enough for you?
Works for me.
Okay. My first question to you. I'm going to say the question that it worded, and then I'm going to qualify it. Because it says, what's one noise that instantly makes you want to punch drywall? You would never punch drywall, but what's one noise that just drives you bonkers?
Ooh. That's really tough.
What are we doing? No, get down.
Do you know of any noises that...
For you?
Yeah.
No, I don't know that I can come up with one specifically.
I think like anything that's super loud and disorganized. Like...
You don't usually like really loud noises.
Yeah, I'm kind of just sensitive to really loud things. Like when you had the acoustic drum set in the house, you couldn't play it with me close by because it just was too much for me. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate the fact that like you're good at playing drums, and I can listen to recordings of you playing drums and I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. You know, like I enjoy listening to you play, but being in the same room with it, I just couldn't do it. So I can't think of any specific noises aside from that. Do snakes make noises?
Oh my gosh.
That would be the noise.
That would probably be the noise.
Yeah.
Like a rattlesnake's noise or something.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
If Bridget ever found a snake in the house, she'd burn it down.
Yeah, we would have to move.
Yeah. That is like one of her major phobias. It is not uncommon for her to be scrolling social media on her phone, and if she comes across a picture of a snake...
Someone's posted a picture of a snake.
The phone gets thrown at me while she's screaming, saying, get it off, get it off. Like, make it go away off my phone, because she just can't.
And after 15 years, he knows exactly what's going on, and he'll get it off of the screen, and we move on. But it didn't take him long to figure that out either.
And it's usually when it surprises you.
Yeah. If I'm expecting it, I don't like to look at it, but I can.
Yeah. Because we used to go to this little museum in Ohio, and they had this huge anaconda boa or whatever.
I don't remember
what it was. That thing hardly ever moved.
It was like 25 years old. It was huge.
Yeah. And you were like, ugh, but like you would watch it.
Still intrigued by it. Like I wanted to like go look at it.
And then we went to Brazos Bend State Park down in the Houston area, and one of their little, I don't know what you call it, some little house where they had all kinds of...
one of their little nature rooms. They had...
Harvey just tried to eat that fly. That's funny.
He's just trying to take care of things.
Anyways, they had like a little nature room, and they had like little baby alligators and stuff, and then they had like snakes. And
in a little separate room off to the side.
Room, and they were like in their own little display things. And I've learned to warn Bridget ahead of time. If I see a snake somewhere, I'll be like, okay, either like, we've been in stores, and I'll be like, there's a kid behind you that has a fake snake that looks kind of realistic, just so you know, so she doesn't freak out. You know? And so I was like, do not go down that aisle. You will not like it. And she's like, oh, is it snakes? And I was like, yes. And like after a little bit, you were like, okay, I'll go check it out. It was like you almost were able to.
It was, what it was the guide there told the kids that she was going to teach them about poisonous snakes, because a lot of the snakes they had in there were poisonous ones, and they were going to go in the other room to look at them and learn about the different types of poisonous snakes and what to look out for. And I was like, I'm going to go with them. And Keith's looking at me like, what? And I was like, I'm going to go with them. I kind of wanted to set an example for the kids that sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone. And it was not a fun thing for me to do, but it was like a controlled environment, and I knew what I was expecting. So I did that.
It's not a bad thing to learn since we live in Texas.
Right.
And there's more snakes out here.
I don't
for sure
like that at all.
I mean, there's no snakes in Texas at all, honey.
Don't tell me that, because then I'm not expecting it.
I mean, you should expect
really
snakes around every... No. Anyways, okay, so...
We keep going off on
no
tangents.
particular little noise that makes you want to punch drywall necessarily.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But we got to talk about your snake phobia. So
that's right.
That's cool. Okay.
Nothing without legs should move that fast.
There you go.
That's really true. What it's all
I mean,
about.
I don't like snakes. And if I came across one in the wild, I remember being at scout camp, and they'd be, oh, it's okay. It's not poisonous. It can still bite you. Like a dog's not poisonous, but I don't want it biting me.
It's true.
Anyways.
Yep. No good.
Okay. Another one for...
If masking were a job, what would your fake job title be?
If masking were a job? What would my fake job title be? I think it would almost feel like it would be like if I were one of the characters at a Disney park. I would be playing the character of human.
That's funny. It's, I mean, true, because that's really what masking is all about.
Meet
what
and
you
greet
think
at the autism park.
The human exhibit.
Take a picture with the human, and I'd be like, I'd be one of the characters playing the human.
They wouldn't want to take a picture with you because you'd be smiling like Chandler.
Yeah, right.
Making funny faces when you try to smile naturally. And you know what I thought of when I read the question is, I'm going to be a master of disguise.
What is that even from?
From Master of Disguise, that Dana Carvey movie from the 90s or early 2000s. Anyways, that's what I thought of. What would your job title be?
That's fun.
Master of Disguise.
I don't think I'm familiar with that, but yeah, that makes sense.
It's a dumb movie, but
it's funny because like my whole life I was masking to a certain degree, but didn't know it. Mm-hmm. So it would be like I had a job I didn't know I had, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. I'm going to read the question. I'm not going to do what it tells me to do after that.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you what it tells me to do.
Sounds about right.
It says, if I had a stim dance move, what would it look like? And then it says I'm supposed to act it out. That's not going to happen.
Everybody would be pulling out the video this week.
Yeah.
If you had
keep those stim dance move. No.
What would it be?
You know, I just thought about
what?
Is funny. It's your question, so I want to see what you come up with first, and then I'll tell you what I just thought of that would be kind of.
The first thing that comes to mind is the drum solo in that one Phil Collins song, like you air drumming.
Yeah.
That could be your signature dance move. I could definitely see that. You don't do much dancing. No. You're about as non-dancing as it comes. So imagine.
Which is funny because people think, oh, you're a drummer, you have rhythm, so you must be a good dancer too. Nope. I have really good rhythm. Oh my gosh.
Molly just hit her head on the microphone.
What?
Are you okay?
What are you doing?
Molly, you stop being spaz, girl.
Again, the people who are only listening just heard a loud noise, if we even leave it in there. Mala just jumped up into Mama's lap and hit her head on the microphone in the process.
Yes, I love you.
Apparently she needs a lot of loving right now.
Okay. Can we lay over here?
Mala, get down. Why does it seem like they are suddenly so needy when we're trying to record?
Okay, yeah, you can lay right there. That's fine.
Oh, holy goodness.
That scared me. I did not see her coming.
Right. You know what? We should we're just going to call this unedited, just real life. And we're just going to leave it all. What do you think?
People would be like, what is wrong with... No, they'd probably
be like... It might be the most entertaining thing.
Well, and it might be more relatable. People would be like, oh, okay.
Because that was... Yeah, now, if you're listening, and if we left all of this in, which I think I'm going to do, you need to look at the video and see what that was. Because that was hilarious. And she's completely unfazed by it.
Oh, she bonks her head like that and doesn't blink twice, and you can be like, oh, that had to hurt. Nope.
It hurts just hearing it. And she's just
got a tough noggin.
Being a goofball. Yeah, this is going to be like uncensored, unedited. This is what happens when we don't prepare.
Raw and real. I don't want to say unprepared. That sounds like we don't care, but we do care. It was just the way it went.
Oh, I care. I was stressing about it for the last several days.
And had you just
zero executive function to do any of it,
you would have been fine. But yeah, no, I know.
If that's not that's very relatable to just neurodivergence in general. ADHD people I know deal with that a lot.
That alone makes me wonder if I'm neurodivergent in some way because
you just have to do the thing. In fact, that's what I'd come up with a title for what the podcast was going to be, which was executive dysfunction when you just can't do the thing. And then I just couldn't do the thing of preparing for the episode.
Yep. Okay, what was your thought on my...
So one of my stems that drives people crazy is shaking my leg. Mm-hmm. And that made me think of the whip and the nay-nay dance and doing the stanky leg.
Yep. I can definitely see that.
I don't know if you would call that a dance move, but yeah.
That's really funny.
That's the
I thought about the shaking your leg thing, but I was like, what kind of dance move would that be? And just kind of like, anyways, that's funny. I like that.
I will not be demonstrating any dance moves, though.
That's funny. Okay, next question. What is the weirdest thing you've ever hyper-focused on? This is a family podcast.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
It really is unedited and unfiltered, huh?
Sure.
Is it a family podcast? No, I'm just kidding. What's the weirdest thing I've ever hyper-focused on? Again, it's really tough asking me these questions, especially when I'm in burnout.
I know.
Trying to get my brain to work.
Put you on the spot.
What are some things that I've hyper-focused on? Let's go over those first.
Like your special interests, but I don't think that really counts.
So I think it's just, I'm a very curious person. Mm-hmm. So like, anytime I hear someone say, I wonder if, or I wonder whatever, they'll say, I wonder blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, guys, we have this thing. Every single one of us has one practically. And you can find out anything you want. So saying I wonder without then following it up with a Google search is ridiculous to me. So I'll dive into stuff sometimes just because I get this weird question in my head. And then I just start, what? I'm showing my belly.
Yeah. Uncut and unfiltered.
Yep. And uncovered.
Sorry.
Should I put that in the title, see if we can draw more audience people?
I think that's a different audience.
No, but I'll just like start going down a rabbit hole of just about anything. So I don't know if I can come up with.
Well, and weird is relative. Like, It's weird to me how much you dive into like universes and time, the way that time's affected and different parallel universes, and just like the way that you go down those trails and want to learn about it and read books. Like that's weird to me. Not weird in a bad way, but just like not something that I would ever dig into. So
I started doing that when we lived in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. And
when you started listening to Star Talk.
Started listening, yeah. It was a 30-minute drive to work, and I just got this thought in my head of, I can just drive with nothing on. I'm one of those weird people. People say you're a sociopath if you can do that. I can do that because my mind will keep me entertained anyways.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? There's like all these things that are interesting to me, and I could be learning about those while I'm driving. And one of them was like physics and space and stuff like that. So I had heard about Star Talk and just decided to start listening to Star Talk. And so I listened to Star Talk a lot, and I started reading books about, from Neil deGrasse Tyson or Brian Greene or Stephen Hawking. And I feel like I'm not anywhere near like, oh, I'm an astrophysicist now. No, but I have a general idea about a lot of it that I think most people don't understand now.
I would say a way deeper understanding than the general public, for sure.
Well, what I'm saying is like as much of an understanding as you can have by reading some books and listening to Star Talk, not like I can't sit here and do equations or anything like that. I have a better understanding of what E equals MC squared means and why that's important and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I like just like thinking about that stuff. And I've joked too, like I'll listen to Star Talk and then I'll be like, oh, I wonder if anyone's ever thought of that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm sure.
The people that make careers out of this,
the people who do this all the time, I'm sure that they've thought about it.
Yeah.
Just on the way home from work this morning, I was listening to Star Talk, and it was one of their Cosmic Queries episodes where people can send in questions. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to me because the person, their question was different than what Neil deGrasse Tyson and his co-host, I think it was Paul Mercurio, they didn't understand the guy's question. And I was sitting there like talking back to them like, no, that's not what he's asking. And I'm like, Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the smartest people, is not understanding what this guy's question is.
Yeah.
It was driving me nuts.
That's funny.
But
yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, that's probably one of the things, because I can sit there like if I've thought about doing a podcast just talking about that stuff with like our son or other people or whatever, and it would be like I'm not really an expert, but this is what I've read and learned about and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like just recording little videos of some mind-blowing new thing that I learned.
Yeah.
Like, you remember when I don't even remember the book, and you might not remember because you just let it all go. Whew.
No, I probably remember exactly what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
It was about black holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I read basically that once you cross the event horizon of a black hole, the time dimension of the space-time fabric becomes basically a space dimension, or acts as a spatial dimension. And so the center of the black hole is the future. And so you can't escape that, because you can't escape that any more than you can escape anything else that's in your future.
Yeah. And this is for the audience.
Mind-blowing.
I don't know what these words mean, but he like loves it. So it's like,
and I kept saying, that's why you can't escape a black hole, because it's in the future, and you can't, like, it's your future. Once you're inside the event horizon, it's your future.
Mind blown.
Yeah. And you were like, sure.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me. No, I definitely listen, and I'm like, I just don't comprehend on the same level. I guess I'm sure I could learn about it and understand more, but I don't know enough foundationally to comprehend what the words mean together and things like that. So
you getting into aviation has taught me that some of it's getting in somewhere in there. And maybe if you were to try to actually learn more about it, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because the same thing with
like,
aviation.
If I get more of a foundational knowledge, then I can usually put it together. I just don't have enough on that subject to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay.
All right, is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your autistic green flag? Is that, I'm supposed to be asking you what my autistic green flag is, or what? I don't understand the question even. What's a green flag for my autistic green flag? Is that like a good, wholesome quality of mine or something?
Yeah, what that is? I would say like loyalty, like not having to worry about, and even when the kids are like, will say something to me about, well, that's not how I remember this, and Dad insists that that's how it was, and I will tell them, I'll be like, if Dad insists that's how it was, he's being honest about that. That's how he remembers it. That's how it was in his mind. Like, he's not being dishonest about it or trying to, there was one time that one of the kids thought that you were reacting to a situation more, you were being more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, more overprotective about a situation than you should have been, and trying to make them scared of something. It was like a safety thing or something. I don't remember what the subject was, but they're like, oh, I think Dad's just trying to make me take it more seriously. And I'm like, no, that's like, he's reacting to you exactly the way that he feels about it. Like it's like genuine and loyal. Like, I don't have to worry about you being disloyal. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to worry about you lying to me. If you say something, I know that that's your truth. Mm-hmm. So it's whether it matches like facts and textbooks and studies and stuff, I mean, if those were presented to you, you would be willing to learn and change your thing. But what if you say it, that's reality to you.
Well, I think it's, some people will act like there's this autistic trait that we can't lie. And that's not true at all.
Yeah.
And especially when I kind of went through my whole reshaping my worldview, leaving religion, I kind of re-examined everything to decide what I actually believed and what actually seemed right and true to me, rather than trusting just other people who said this is what's true. And that's why I've always told the kids to, whatever I tell you, do not believe it just because I told you.
Yeah.
Like, look it up yourself, and I'll tell you where I found it. And if you look it up and decide that there's better information somewhere else, please share it with me.
Yeah.
I want them to come to me and say, here's this thing, and you got it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I want that.
Yeah, let's learn for yourselves.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier today, actually, when we were driving home from the pool. We went to a pool. I was thinking about the trait of, like, some autistic people in the support groups I'm in, I've heard, like, it's kind of stark differences in, I know that he's going to tell the truth. He or she, I know that they're going to tell the truth 100% of the time, or I don't trust anything they say because they make things up. And I was like, what causes that divide? And in my mind, I'm thinking logically, and I'm like, I think that the divide comes in where it's a survival skill. It's a masking skill. It's like at a young age, the struggle is there. You're different than everybody else, and you're trying to figure out what works to fit in and what works to make your life manageable. And for some people, that looks like saying what people want to hear and lying and just making it fit the narrative. And I don't think it's like an intentional deception, other than like developed from a survival skill. It becomes second nature to some people. That's their way of coping with it. So I'm not saying that all autistic people are loyal and tell the truth and that's their truth and that's the way it is. Like sometimes it's the opposite.
Well, and I think if you're an autistic person and you're looking for what the rules are of society or whatever, one of the unwritten rules that we tend to struggle with is, when is it okay to lie? When is it okay to not be fully truthful or whatever? And so if you pick up on, it's okay to not be completely truthful in these situations, and you think, okay, well then I don't always have to be truthful. That might be an autistic person thinking they're following the rules.
Yeah.
The other thing that reminds me of, like, when I was a kid, I was a storyteller. And boy, were they tall tales. I mean, they were the kind of stories that everybody knew were ridiculous. And apparently, as a child, I didn't know they were ridiculous. So it's not like, I wasn't capable of telling a untruth or whatever, or telling a story that wasn't true. But now I'm pretty much in this, my frame of mind when it comes to honesty is, not everyone deserves my 100% truth.
Yeah.
But the people who do are going to get it. My family members, my loved ones, my kids, like every like, they're going to get the 100% truth, even when it's uncomfortable, or even when it's.
Well, and I think it's important to clarify too, that doesn't mean the people who don't deserve your 100% truth get a lie from you.
No.
It just means that they don't get an answer. They don't deserve that.
An example, one time we went to Kings Island and we were riding the ride called the Racer. And if you know anything about Kings Island or the Racer, if you're a roller coaster enthusiast at all, you probably know about it.
Kings Island is a
amusement park in Ohio. Yep, in Mason, Ohio. And the Racer is like an old wooden roller coaster. In fact, they credit it with kind of bringing the popularity of roller coasters
Isn't
back.
it the one that was on the Brady Bunch?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
On the Brady Bunch, when they had an episode go in Kings Island. But it's two trains that run
on parallel tracks.
And so when you start out, you're going up the hill with the train next to you going up the hill. And that's why they call it the Racer. It's like, which train's going to get back? And so we were riding that with the kids and going up the hill, and some kid in the other train looked over at me and asked me what my name was. And it's funny, in situations like that, my brain thinks quicker than I really realize it. And I just said, Bob, because I'm like, you're just some random kid. Like, I'm not going to tell you my real name. Yeah. And the kids thought that was hilarious. They thought I was just being funny. And I kind of was, just kind of being funny and sarcastic. But that's kind of what I'm talking about, is like, if it's a situation that doesn't matter, if there's no consequence to it, then I don't owe you that. Or if it's something where, oh, you have to tell me this. No, I don't have to tell you that. Like, sometimes it's a case where, like, you have no right to this information.
Like people just being nosy, it's like, or things like that.
If it matters, then I'm going, like, that's the thing for me. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. So it's almost like, and I, kind of came up with this before I was even diagnosed autistic.
Yeah.
It's like, if it matters, then you're going to get the truth from me.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you are. If it matters, if it's safety or whatever. But so it's not like, oh, if you're not a loved one of mine, then I'm just going to lie to you. I don't lie easily anyways.
Yeah.
But it's,
unless it's like silly things like Bob. But
it doesn't, it does, if it's something that doesn't matter, it doesn't bother me.
Right. And I think even when it is something that matters, it's more of a lie of omission. Like, you're just not going to feel like you owe an answer to that person.
Well, and that's to me, if it's something that matters, but it's not their business, then I'm just not going to tell them.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And in those cases, I'm just going to be like, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem telling people that either, because there are some things that just, like, you don't have a need to know it.
Yeah.
So why do I need to tell you?
Yeah. That's fair.
I don't even remember the question that started that discussion. Oh, it was the green flag, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Not just a green flag.
Yep. Okay, so that means I'm next. If I had to name your special interest like a movie title, what would it be?
See, that makes it sound like I have one special interest.
Yeah, I know. And you don't really have like one right now.
No.
I mean, you have some, you're just not like super involved with them at the moment.
One specific one that like is, I don't really have one that's like taking up a lot of my, unless you call it podcast, but if it was a special interest, it would have been easier for me to, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Planes, trains, and fire trucks. I don't know. Kind of like planes, trains, and automobiles.
That's fair. I like that. One. That is a good one. Yeah.
That's a good.
Fire trucks are better than automobiles anyways.
I always say, like, if I'm up at Founders Plaza, you can see the airplanes coming in. You can see the trains, the commuter trains coming into the airport.
And you see the fire trucks.
And sometimes you see the airport fire trucks going out to something. And I'm like, man, it's the trifecta.
Yeah.
And the airport fire trucks are even cooler than the ones that I got to drive.
They are. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay. My phone just went. Okay. If your brain had a loading screen, what would it say?
Stand by. No, really, that's probably just stand by. Like, usually I come up with a pretty good answer, or if you give me some time to think about it, but I'm not a quick processor.
Yeah.
I think stand by is probably a pretty accurate.
Processing, please stand by.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much what mine would be. Mine would just be the little
blue circle
going around. Yeah.
Around and around and around.
That's literally what my brain does anytime you're like, hey, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite anything? It's like, I don't exist now. Anymore, so.
Processing. I like it. What is your favorite stim that you try to pass off as a normal behavior?
I don't know. What do you think? Like, my leg shaking is kind of a normal thing. People think it's an anxiety thing, though. and sometimes it is, but.
And some people just are restless.
Yeah.
I would say more the drumming and tapping.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much of a stim that was, and I used to, like, when I went into middle school and went into band, and my parents were like, "Oh, you should be a drummer because you tap on everything." It was like, okay, that's why I tap, because I just have this drumming. And then when I started to suspect I was autistic, I started realizing that's probably a stim.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. I tap on.
I mean, drumming was a great outlet for you.
It was, yeah.
But.
And I have a lot better rhythm when I tap now, too.
You do. I can almost recognize, you can be just drumming on the dashboard in the car. And like you said, sometimes we just drive without anything playing. And you can be just drumming on the steering wheel or the dashboard, and I'll be able to pick out the song just by the rhythm.
I have, the tips of my fingers have gotten, and it's not even like they're calloused. But like when I tap, like I'll tap hard with the tips of my fingers. And I tap with my fingers in different ways for like different sounds and stuff.
Yeah. It's actually really interesting to see. This kind of goes back to one of the other questions that you asked me, is the sound that grates my nerves, makes me want to punch sheetrock, I believe was the way that it was worded. Whistling. Yeah. I don't love whistling. I don't. And it kind of like grates my nerves.
Yeah.
But I don't mind you whistling, because you like actually whistle like the right tones, and it's on pitch, and it's like I can pick out songs and stuff like that. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't whistle just randomness, and some people do. And the
random whistles is what gets me.
And it drives me nuts when other people whistle too, unless they can be right on as well.
And it's very rare for people to be right on with whistling.
And I feel bad.
It's kind of like a skill.
Our youngest son will try to whistle along with me when I'm whistling. And I'm like, dude.
He's gotten better.
He has gotten better. And it's not like...
it's a learned skill.
I feel bad. But if I'm whistling and you're whistling and you're not dead on with mine, that dissonance drives my brain crazy. And it's sometimes a dissonance that most people can't pick up on.
Yeah.
And that's why I almost feel bad. Because to anyone else, it would be fine.
Yeah.
But if I'd rather you be way off than just barely off.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. And it's, like I said, I feel bad because I don't want to discourage him from whistling.
It's like the sound. I hope people will know what I'm talking about when I say this. When you're driving in the car and you roll down one window, just a little bit, and it's that helicopter thumping sound that you get because the air pressure and balance in the car. It's like that. That's what it does to your head when it's just a little bit off.
Well, and just to add some context to how I can get so easily overstimulated, I also have tinnitus.
Oh, yeah.
And so I always have a high-pitched tone in my ears and my head. And so, like, I've been dealing with it for a couple years now. Yeah, years now. So I've gotten better, but when it basically is a ringing in your ears that just doesn't ever go away. And before I actually got stuck with the constant, if I got a ringing in my ears and then I'd hear something, it would drive me crazy because it would be off from the pitch in my head. And that's something that I've just kind of learned to deal with it, but it probably adds to the bucket, if you will. Yeah. For sure. Okay. Is it my turn?
Yep.
Okay. What's something that I do that makes you go, oh yeah, he's autistic, all right. Especially now that you know more about it. I think if you knew what to look for beforehand and then you met me, you'd be like, yeah.
Definitely.
But what's something that definitely fits in that category?
I think watching you interact with people that you're either not around very much or like new people. Yeah. Like you manage it pretty well. And I think that comes from like your years of working at the fire department and having to deal with new people all the time. Like you kind of learn to mask pretty well. But if you're around the new people for very long, you start to info dump and you have zero concept of the other people in the room and when they lose interest. I think that's probably the biggest one.
I think that has been a big hamper to my ability to make friends.
Yeah, possibly.
And it's affected other relationships too, because again, that was kind of used against me in family court. Except it was phrased, he goes off on them. He just goes off on the kids about these things. It's like, no, I'm info dumping. I didn't know that when I was being accused of going off on them.
Or else we could
have, because that was before I was diagnosed.
I'm
not sure it would have mattered.
But, right. But
But yeah, that's what it is. Even before I was diagnosed, I remember there was, actually we went out for St. Patty's Day when we were in Minnesota, and we went out with that coworker of mine. Yep. And so, I had a few drinks too, so that obviously loosens the tongue up a little bit. And I just started talking about stuff, and at one point, you gave me that look, like that meme that I put up of Taylor Swift giving the look of, okay, you need to
wrap it up
and talk about something else.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. All right. So what is your go-to excuse when executive dysfunction wins and you can't do the thing?
Well, anymore, I'll just say that that's what it is.
Yeah. That's kind of part of the liberating thing of knowing what it is and learning about it and having the people around you understand is you can just say it now. You don't have to make an excuse. You don't feel like you have to make an excuse. You're just like, I can't do it.
Well, because in the past, especially before I knew what was going on, when it came to papers for classes and stuff like that, my executive function or dysfunction would keep me from writing it until the night before. And then
until it's do or die.
Yeah. And then it's suddenly once it's that urgent, then something else kicks in and you can get it done. And I've always been good at writing papers at the last minute. My high school senior year research paper that I had to do was on the Globe Theater, and it was supposed to be something that you were supposed to research for weeks and work on for weeks. And then this was back even before we turned in typed papers. They didn't trust papers from the computers even. And so it was when you had to write a rough draft, and then you had to put edit marks on it. And I did all of that the night before. I wrote a rough draft. I marked it up. I used the encyclopedias that we had that were really old, but it's okay because so is the Globe Theater. Don't think they learned anything new about
That's
it,
true.
So it was okay that it was a really
good
old
subject when you're dealing with old encyclopedias.
Right. So yeah, and I did that all through school, and maybe not knowing helped almost in that, because again, here we are. I mean, we're throwing a podcast episode together. Not even necessarily at the last minute, but there was nothing that helped me get it done.
Yeah.
Once I got, close to it, at least not what we were planning on doing.
Well, and I think it's interesting because you tell that story, and I was a lot like that in high school too. And I have almost an identical story about a research paper my senior year. But mine is procrastination, and I work better under pressure. You give me a deadline and a short time frame to do something, I'm going to make it happen. Yeah. But you drag it out for weeks, and you gave me weeks to do this. It must not be that important.
Yeah.
That's anyways. So,
or like you said, maybe you're neurodivergent and we just don't know it.
Maybe. But no, for people listening and that aren't neurodivergent, you're going, well, I did that same thing.
Yeah.
It can come off the same way, but it's for different reasons, I think.
Well, and it's important to note, a lot of times people will talk about certain autistic traits, and people will go, oh, well, I do that too. Mm-hmm. Well, one or two things going on there. You're autistic and you don't know it, which is a possibility maybe. Yeah. But if it's one trait, there can be traits that are common amongst autistics, but that doesn't mean if you have that one trait, you're autistic.
They're not unique to autism.
Right. It's not automatically you're autistic. It's a combination of things. It has to do with the combination of traits and the severity of the traits, or the I don't want to, like, almost like the pathology behind it, kind of, like what's driving it versus.
Yeah.
Because like you said, some people are just procrastinators.
Yeah.
And then they can get it done at the last minute.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can't say that, because now I understand I'm not the procrastinator. It's the executive dysfunction. Because for me, I spend that entire time stressing about it.
Yeah.
And not doing it. And procrastinators just go, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
Right.
I mean, I will do it later.
You torture yourself the entire time.
I'm just going to be guilting myself and stressing about it, and making myself anxious about it. Because it's not even like I can go, well, the last 5 times this has happened, you still put out a good paper at the last minute, so you're fine. No, that's never. I've always worried that this time it's not going to work out that way.
Yep.
So. Yep. Okay. If you could have a special interest in something useful, what would you pick?
Ooh. Can I say either or? I can think of 2 things that I might pick. Mm-hmm. I would be like organizationizing.
Organizing.
Yeah, something. I don't know. Organizing and like, I don't know. Some people are so great at like organizing and having like everything has a place. Mm-hmm. And I don't do that very well, at all.
Neither of us are very great at that. That's for sure. But yeah.
And then the other one, I think would be like cooking. Yeah. If I had like all the time and resources to just focus on that, I would really love like cooking and running, like, I don't know, just trying all different types of things, cooking things. Yeah. I just don't have the time. I don't have the kitchen tools. I don't have the endless ingredients. Like, I'm interested in it, but I just don't delve into it.
And for most of our years together, we were both working full-time jobs. Right. Like multiple when going to school or like whatever. We just didn't have the time for that. Yeah. Most of the recipes that I cooked were either really easy or I got them from my ex-wife. So
that's true.
It was a funny thing you told your sisters, I think, when we first got together was, well, we were married and I wanted to make something that she had made, and I just emailed her, hey, what's the recipe for this thing? And you thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
Well, that was like early on, and you guys like...
We were not getting along well, really.
No, you were getting along fine at that point.
Oh, okay. So it was like, because even when you and I first got together, we weren't getting along great with her, but we kind of...
You co-parented fine, like it was like a... yeah. You kind of had like a mutual like respect for each other and worked fairly well together, I would say, for a couple that's been divorced for not super long, but and then when things went bad, they went real bad. So you definitely did most of the cooking back then, though, and you pulled recipes from where you knew them.
It was not anything crazy, though. It was like beef stroganoff, or I think the best recipe I had was the chicken enchiladas, and
that's what I was going to say. That's the one you got from her,
from my ex.
Yeah,
and it was good. Recipe. She's a good cook.
Yeah,
let's give her that. Okay, your turn to ask a question.
Oh, my turn. Yeah. Okay. What is the most chaotic? I knew this was.
What?
It's worded weird. What's the most chaotic I knew I was autistic when moment?
Oh, chaotic.
I don't understand the chaotic word in there, so make it make sense.
I mean, being a late diagnosed person, it's like I can look back and go, someone should have known I was autistic when, and I don't think that there was one moment where I was like, ding, I got to be autistic. So I'm not sure that there's like
a collection of things, like just little things here and there that as the person who's experiencing them, you pick up on, and you were able to collect them. But it only took you how many years?
40 some odd years. Well, I think the only reason, the only way that chaotic makes sense in there is it was the chaos. Like the chaos of my life, looking back and like looking at that and realizing how much of that was being near meltdown or in burnout or being pushed to that, or other autistic traits like when we're told do your best, we think that means you should be doing the absolute best you can possibly do. And like it was a revelation to me that when neurotypicals hear do your best, that means just do a good job.
Put in a good effort.
But when I'm told do your best, that's like you should be exhausted and about to die when you're done, because that's the best you can do.
Highest level you can possibly do. Yeah.
So it's like a lot of little things like that. But I don't all of that like built the chaos of my life.
Yeah.
That really, like, again, looking back, the chaos is just a big sign.
Yeah.
Of it for sure.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a strangely worded question. What's one neurotypical phrase that immediately makes your eye twitch?
All of the common cliche ones that we hear, oh, you must not be very autistic.
Yeah.
That one gets me, because you are or you aren't. It's
right.
just the whole spectrum thing, not understanding that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
must
probably
be a very minor case.
Yeah.
My favorite is, and I don't think I've ever had this specific conversation, but it's always been kind of similar. Like okay, why are you weird? Oh, I'm autistic. No, you're too normal to be autistic. Like, wait a minute. Like,
you just said I was weird.
Right. Yeah. And it comes from the misconceptions and stereotypes that autism is, like Rain Man, or, like kids that struggle with even talking, or, that's what most people see as autistic. They don't realize that people in their everyday life that they talk to on a regular basis could be autistic.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I made this hat, like I always wear a hat, and I want to start wearing this to work. And it's like, do I want to put it out there, or do I not want to? Part of me wants to just put it out there and be like, yeah, hey, you guys work with an autistic guy. And yeah, you know me as the quiet guy, and that's because I'm autistic, but I still can do my job, and I'm still good at it. And that's why, though, if we have a disagreement on something and I'm pretty sure I'm right, I'm not going to back down from it either. And that's why I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about your idea. And you might think that that's me calling you stupid, but it's not me calling you stupid. It's me calling your idea stupid, maybe. Like it's little things like that.
Yeah.
Because I know I've interacted with people at work that now think that I'm a jerk, and I'm just real direct.
And with you, if you don't know you, it can be taken the wrong way, but it's not personal.
No,
it never is personal.
There's not a person that I work with either that I have a personal problem with.
Yeah.
But I know that there are some people there that have a personal problem with me. And it's like,
you can have a problem with somebody's idea and tell them that the idea is stupid, and then go on to work with them and not have any issues.
And I might even react strongly about it, like because joke sometimes too that I have 2 settings, quiet and not at all quiet.
Right.
And, if I feel strongly about something, and I especially think that it's a particularly bad idea, I'm going to be very strong in expressing that opinion. And it's not an opinion about the person, it's an opinion about the idea.
But people don't separate that.
No, people don't separate that.
And if they don't know you well enough, and then fast forward a week and you're acting like you can interact and work with that person just fine, and they're like, wait, I thought we were mad at each other, and you're like, I was never mad at you. What's the problem?
I don't have a problem with you. Yeah. Well, and especially like even if there is somebody that I have a problem with, if I'm at work and you're a coworker of mine and we have to work together, I'm going to do my job. Yeah. And I'm going to interact with you, and there's no reason why whatever personal beef we have with each other should be affecting that anyways.
Yeah.
I'm just not that kind of person. Yeah, I'm just not that kind of person. Like I'm not even going to give you attitude. Even if I were to see you on the street and give you attitude, if I'm at work and I'm doing my job, I'm just going to.
Here's my thing with that.
But there's not a single person at my work right now that I could say that I would feel that way about anyways. Like I don't have a problem with.
Yeah.
But I know a couple people at least that think I do.
Yeah.
And they might have a problem with me, whether I do have a problem with them or not. I don't know. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the capacity to hold on to those things. Like I'm not going to waste my energy carrying that around and remembering what grudges I have against which people. Like I'm moving on. Well, I've already expressed to you how I feel about it. Now we're moving on.
I can't control how I feel about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But if it's something that my body will let me let go, I'm going to let it go. Because I don't have, like you said, I don't have the energy. I don't have the room in my brain for that. And if it's something that was a one-off thing, like I'm not going to, and it's not that I don't care. It's not that I'm trying to be like, screw you. It's just that my brain's not going to hold on to it.
Yeah. That was a big deal in 911 dispatching. There was dispatchers that would hear the tone or something that an officer would say to them, and they'd be like, oh, they're taking accidents, or they're doing this kind of call that they don't like to do for the next while. 5 minutes later, I'm not going to remember who did it.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't hang on to stuff like that. So it's like kind of like you're going to express it and then move forward.
Well, way back years ago when I was a 911 dispatcher and a police dispatcher, I wouldn't hold on to it for a long time. But sometimes I wouldn't do like you're saying, like, but there's one example that I always tell you about. And it was an officer who, I don't even remember the situation, but it wasn't involving him. And, but he sent me a message because they could send messages on their MDT to the person working the radio. And he said something to me about how I don't care about officer safety. And I took that offensively because that's your entire job. When you're working the radio, that's your entire job is officer safety. And I really, really cared, and I did a good job, darn it. So one of the things that we're supposed to do when you're working the radios, and anytime the officer's out on any kind of call, especially a traffic stop or something, if you haven't heard from them in 5 minutes, you check on them. And you just say their name and say checking, and they're supposed to come back and say checking clear, and you're like, okay, good. And then you don't hear from them again for another 5 minutes. You'll check on them. That's for their safety. Make sure nothing's gone wrong. Sometimes they'd be out on calls and they'd say cancel checks. And if it's not a big deal call anyways, you might stop checking on them every 5 minutes. But if you're going to tell me that I'm not good at officer safety, then you're getting checked on every 5 minutes. I don't care what kind of call you're on, because hey, you want me to be good at officer safety, I'm going to do it. So I started doing that with him, and he would tell me to cancel checks, and I'd be like, nope.
You might be sitting in your car writing a report, but I don't know what could happen. Right. Somebody could hit you. Somebody could walk up on you. I'm going to check on you every 5 minutes.
And it was after one call he was on where I checked on him every 5 minutes, and then he stopped responding because he was tired of me checking on him. Well, what happens when you check on an officer and they don't respond?
Everybody's coming.
Yeah, you drop it. What's called dropping an assist. And when you drop an assist, everybody who's anywhere close starts heading that way. So that's what I did. That was my job. Especially, it didn't matter why I was checking on him every 5 minutes.
If he's not responding.
If he doesn't respond,
yeah,
I definitely wouldn't have been caring about officer safety if,
Right.
So obviously, as soon as I dropped an assist on him, he came across and said, cancel the assist. He's fine. And then he called in after that call to try to complain to my supervisor about it. And she's like, I'm sorry, you're complaining that he's doing his job? That's literally what he's supposed to do. Like, that's the policy. And you were the one who told him,
that he didn't
care about officer safety. So,
yeah.
So I held on to that for a little bit. But
that was more like okay, now I'm going to follow the letter of the law. That kind of like that rings true with autism.
Right.
Like,
doesn't it?
Looking back at that, that's like, oh, I've just been told by somebody that I did something wrong. I'm going to follow this to the letter of the law.
And truth be told, even before that, when they said cancel checks, there'd be times where I'd be like, no, I've still gone too long without hearing from you.
Yeah.
I'm going to check on you again.
Yeah.
And it may be 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes, but
right.
Even if they told me to stop checking on them after a little bit, I'd be like, no, I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Yep.
Ooh, we're filling out a good episode here, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if I don't edit it.
Oh, goodness. If you had an Autistic Achievement Unlocked badge, what would it be for?
Autistic Achievement Unlocked. Like doing some kind of great autistic thing, or like something that, an autistic person did that. Like,
I think it could be either. Like, abilities of autistic people are so wide ranging, though. I think it probably is more of like the first thing you said.
Like an autistic trait maybe that I really, really show or something. I think it would probably be like deep dives, maybe. Like diving into information, special interest. Although it's like, I don't know any autistic people that if it's their special interest, they don't really dive into it. But so I don't know. Maybe, okay, this one makes sense. The fact that I have been able to leverage my special interests into my careers.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. And I think that's, and maybe not every special interest could do that. I wish we could live in a world where that were true, because I think that's all valid. But, the fact that I spent 17 years as a firefighter, 911 dispatcher, EMT, all of that stuff, like, that was very much a special interest. That was like a dream come true job.
Yeah.
And when I had to find a whole new career, it was like, what the heck am I going to do now? And it was definitely when I was more aware that I needed to be interested.
Yeah.
In order for my brain to engage. So when I was able to, kind of fall into aviation the way I did.
Yeah.
And find something that I could do that was interesting and was along the lines of a special interest. So I was, still interested in it.
Well, it's kind of funny because when you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do and you'd been working on the ramp, you went to the local community college. This is a funny story to me because it screams special interest airplanes to me. Like, you went to the community college and you were trying to get information on their pilot program.
Yeah.
And they were talking to you about how much it costs and hours involved and to get to commercial pilot and what it would take. And they told you, because our family situation at the time, they told you that financial aid doesn't pay for any of it. And you literally looked at the guy at the aviation school and went, okay, what else you got?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because I was hoping it was like, I can go there and get student loans and get Pell Grants and stuff, like I was going to do all that. And, well, that's not going to cover the actual flying time hours and all that. All right, what else you got? Yep, that's literally exactly what it was.
And it was like specific to an aviation school, but it was like in your brain, you knew, okay, I have to do something I'm interested in, and I'm interested in airplanes. So I'm here to find a job in airplanes.
Yeah, and that's because he knew that's what I was talking about was aviation.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't even what else do you have at all. It was, what else you got aviation-wise?
Yep.
And, he was, well, we have an aircraft dispatcher program, and that's That's when my brain that makes connections to random events remembered years ago when I was a volunteer firefighter. There was a couple that was also volunteers at our department, and they said something about getting their aircraft dispatcher license because they could get a job at Continental, which was based in Houston. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Oh yeah, pay $65,000 a year," which this was in the 90s.
Yeah,
so that was really good money for the 90s. And my brain went, "Oh, I think I remember hearing something about that." And then I was like, "Well, tell me about it." And I was like, because I said I was a 911 dispatcher. Is there any correlation there? And he's like, "Well, kind of." And he explained it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do that."
Yeah.
Like, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And that was even before, like, I then started looking into, like, what's the income potential? Because that was the other thing that was driving me. That was right after you had been diagnosed with MS.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, we might be facing the reality of someday I'm the only one who can work.
It was a scary time because I had been diagnosed, and I, for the first year, just saw a general neurologist, and I basically was operating in the mindset of, okay, I'm fine for now. Not fine. Like, I was dealing with a lot of things, but I can keep functioning and working for now, but it's just a matter of time till I won't be able to. And it wasn't until like over a year later that we saw a specialist who actually gave us hope and turned that around for, more aggressive treatments and getting ahead of it and things like that. So now it's...
And I know what some people might be thinking, a neurologist is already a specialist, but this is an MS specialist. Like
okay, yeah.
A neurologist who only specialized in MS.
Yes. So...
Dr. Aaron Boster, look him up on YouTube. He's a freaking rock star in the MS world. So if you somehow have an overlap, know someone who has MS.
Definitely changed the course of my future, like night and day. So, but yeah, that's making your special interest your career. I think that's a good badge.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, when we were talking about special interests, that was one of the things that I said. I understand it might be a pie in the sky kind of a thing for some people. Can you make your special interest a career? Can you leverage it into a career?
Yeah.
And, it may not be able to go straight into, exactly the same, but there might be a way you can kind of
connections along the way and work into it. Yeah.
Kind of close. Like, one of the other jobs I considered a long time ago too was literally being a train conductor, and that would have been really cool. And that pays pretty good too. And like that would have been something too. And like I said, I knew from an early age when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life that if I wasn't interested, my brain was not going to engage. So
I think that's true for a lot of people, and people do careers just to survive in life, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's respectable.
It's almost cliche for people to say that they hate their job, though.
Yeah.
And like, that would be impossible for me. Yeah. If I hated my job, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
And there's days I come home where I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm home. Or, like when I got off work this morning, I was like, thank goodness it's Friday, because I need a break. But I still enjoy the work. I don't dread going to work. I don't hate being at work, and there's some people that, they're like, oh, I hate my job, but, it pays the bills.
Right.
That just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah. I mean, some people can do that and they make good money doing that, and it supports their hobbies and interests outside of work. And that's fine too, if you can make that work. But for some people, it just doesn't work that way. And we've been pretty lucky with your interests.
Yep, for sure.
Cool.
Where are we at time-wise? I'm pretty good into this. Should we do like one more question each?
Sure.
I'm going to look over the last few and I'll pick one. I'll just ask you the next one because I like it. What's your favorite kind of shut off the world day?
Oh. Just me?
And you can't say taking a nap all day long.
That would be...
If she could win an award, it would be for nap taker.
I am a pretty good sleeper.
Go ahead.
He jokes, and he told me recently, he's like, you are the only person that I've ever known in my life that gets a huge smile on their face when they just lay down in bed.
Yep. Like especially since, she works afternoons, I work nights. So if I'm saying goodnight to her because she's going to sleep and I'm going to be up all night, like tucking her in, she just has the biggest smile on her face when she's all cozy in bed and ready to go to sleep. Like, not that people hate going to bed, but
it brings me joy.
It does.
It literally brings me joy. People do it because it's part of what your body requires to keep functioning. I thoroughly enjoy it.
It's like that one meme that says, I love sleep. It's like being dead without the commitment.
Yes, that's me. But no, what was the...
What's your favorite kind of shut off the world day?
Oh, okay. I think there's two answers to this. And if it's just me, I would say like no appointments, no, just like chilling, hanging out with the dogs. I guess that means it's not just me, but they don't talk back. Watching some of my trashy TV shows, because that's kind of like my unwind. Like that's almost a stim for me, is just watching my shows. That's like me time.
She wrote a book about it.
You had AI write a book about it, but yeah, that's funny. I was showing my coworkers that last night.
Were you?
Yeah.
Do you have it with you?
No, I have a picture of it on my phone.
Okay, we have to tell the story.
Yeah.
I saw one of those ads where it's like $30 and you like give them a little bit of information about whoever you're buying the book for, and then upload a picture, and it will write a full like 250-page book about the subject. And so it basically wrote a book supposedly by her about how...
Rewinding a little bit more, because the subject is important.
Yeah.
I have always watched reality TV shows, and it's ranged from some of the series that were on MTV to TLC series. I will watch like the whole franchise, and that's like my me time, and we call it my trashy TV, but I always have it on the DVR, and new episodes pop up, and I'll watch it when I get some time by myself. Like he'll either be at work or asleep, and I don't have any other commitments. That's what I do with my time. Sometimes.
One of her big ones is 90 Day Fiancé.
Yeah, I wasn't going to name names, but
sorry.
It's okay. It used to be Teen Mom. That's what I was saying with the MTV. Yeah. I'd watch the whole franchise. Teen Mom's like 16 and Pregnant, Teen Mom 2. Like I would watch like all of them.
I remember that.
And then all the different 90 Day Fiancés, like the 1,000-Pound Sisters and 1,000-Pound Best Friends, and there's so many of them. Sister Wives was another one of them that I binge watched that. I refused to watch it for many years.
Yeah.
And then when Christine left, the first wife left, I went, okay, now I need to know what's going on. So I binge watched the whole thing, and now I keep up with it. But yeah, I have these trashy TV shows I watch. So.
And they're not really trashy.
No,
like, we're not
we
saying
call
that
it that just
trashy.
to be funny.
Yeah.
But Keith and the boys have always made fun of me. Oh, Mom's watching her trashy TV again. So the book.
Yeah, the book is it was when she was still a 911 dispatcher too. And the book basically is a book about how trashy TV helps her deal with the stress of being a 911 dispatcher.
Yep. And it's about like the stories, the tales of a 911 dispatcher who watches trashy TV to deal with it. Yeah. It was just funny. It was kind of a joke that you did.
Well, and the funny thing was I ordered it and it came in, and then I put it on the shelf without telling her about it. Mm-hmm. And it sat there for like 2 weeks without her even knowing it was there. And then finally it was like, I was like, hey, what's that over there? And I literally had her standing in front of the shelf, in front of the book. It wasn't like, in there so you could only see the spine. I had it like laying kind of, and it still took her a second before she was like, wait, what's this? And I was like, man, if I didn't like send you over there, it probably would have sat there for a year or more before.
Yep. It was. But
I mean, it's not like you go to the bookshelves and look at stuff all the time anyways. So, but yeah, it was just funny.
Yeah. A good joke. Mm-hmm. But cool.
That's, yep. So watching your TV shows.
Yeah.
The dog's in your lap.
So yeah, but if it's like a family day, like just some activity with the family, like a nice dinner, hanging out, like nothing too crazy, but I don't know. We like to go bowling. Like that's a fun one.
We used to like to, we'd play card games.
Yeah. Or board games.
Yeah. Cards Against Humanity. We'd play that. I don't know if it's inappropriate or whatever, but like sometimes we would have some Jaeger.
Yeah.
And
I laugh really hard when I drink Jaeger.
Bridget's drinking. Bridget is hilarious. And it's hilarious because she's lightweight too.
Yeah, for sure.
So it doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much.
And her laugh once she's a little toasted is hilarious. Yeah. And that just always makes that game even funnier.
Yep. Definitely.
But it wasn't about like the drinking. It was all of us laughing and having a good time. And
yeah,
it was
like let loose and have fun as a family thing. So yeah.
Family time. So.
That definitely would be
I'm sure we're getting judgment from some people. How is playing Cards Against Humanity a family time? Our kids grew up with an 911 dispatcher mom and a firefighter dad. So
yeah,
there wasn't a whole lot that was as censored.
Right. I think it's really funny to listen to a teenager read some of those cards in front of their parents. Because at first they were like embarrassed to read them. And then they got to the point where they're like, you know what? Loud and proud. I'm just going to say it. So.
And we've always been the parents who have been like, if you ask us a question, we'll answer it.
Yeah, we're going to.
So even if it's like about a touchy subject or an embarrassing subject or whatever. So sometimes things would come up in there and they'd be like, what's that? And we'd always go,
do you really
want me to answer the question?
Because I will
give you the answer. And sometimes they'd be like, yeah. And sometimes they'd be like, no.
No.
Or sometimes we'd be like, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
If you really, really want to know, we will tell you. Because we always wanted our kids to feel like we would.
Well, we wanted them to have good information, like accurate information.
Yeah, I'd rather they.
Because they're going to go ask their friends anyways. And who knows what they're going to say. So, yep. Okay, this is a good one for you to wrap up with.
Okay.
Because of your music background.
Okay.
So, if being autistic came with a soundtrack, what genre would yours be?
Oh my gosh, I don't think there is a genre that it could be. The soundtrack would be the mixture of all the kinds of songs I listen to anyways. Because,
name a few.
Okay, so I will listen to anything from classical music to the Carpenters to Rush to Nine Inch Nails to Metallica to Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Like, I will listen to almost anything.
Tell them about one of your more recent playlists that you made.
Which one?
The country one.
Oh, yeah, I made a 90s country playlist. Like, I used to say, I'll listen to anything but country. And even when we first moved to Texas when I was a kid, we all wanted to hate Texas. So, because it was way too different from California, where we moved from. And so I refused to listen to country for years. Even even through high school, I didn't listen to country.
I think a lot of people are that way with country.
Yeah. And then, like, after I started listening to more and more and more country, and there's a lot of good country songs, especially from the 90s.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks. And then even, like, some after that time. So there's country music that I like, too. So it depends on the mood that I'm in. Yeah. And I have different playlists on Amazon Music. Like, I've got a playlist that I'll turn on with an earbud in one ear when I'm at work, planning flights and stuff. And it's an instrumental playlist. It's like mostly just kind of calm, soothing instrumental music. And that just kind of helps provide that structure to my brain to help it almost, like, I think some people think that it would be distracting, but it helps me focus.
Zero in the focus, yeah.
And just kind of chills me out.
Yeah.
I have a playlist called Keith's Pumped Up playlist that just has a lot of really, fast or high powerful songs. I've got a playlist of songs that's just feel good songs. I've got a slow songs playlist, so really it would be a soundtrack that had multiple genres in it.
And not just because you enjoy all those different genres, but because it's kind of a summary of your life.
Yeah.
It just really depends on the day, what mood you're in. Not really just your mood, but just your abilities, your situation, like a lot of things play into it. But I 100% agree. Like the soundtrack of you being autistic would be like a wide variety of things. So
what was it? Was it YouTube or was it, maybe it was just a post on Facebook? I don't remember. But I also will like have songs just come into my head. And there was one day where every time I realized a new song was playing in my head, I would like notate it.
Yeah.
And it was like 50 or 60 different songs by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I always joke around that like there's always music going in my head and I'm not the DJ.
Yeah. You're just on shuffle.
Yeah.
Whatever's in there, it might just pop up.
And it'll even be like, I'll be thinking about the song. Like I'll be hearing it playing in my head. And like, it'll play a cool part. Like the cool part comes up and I'll actually be like, oh yeah, I love that part. So it's almost like one part of my brain is hearing another part of my brain playing the song and then recognizing it and going, oh, that's cool. And it's all going on inside my head. It's not even like it's music that's playing outside that I'm hearing. Like it's just, it's weird. It's ridiculous. That's why I say I'm not the DJ, because I'm just listening to it too.
There's somebody shuffling things up there.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yep. That's a good wrap up.
Yep.
I should like share some of my playlists now, shouldn't I?
Sure. And put them in the links.
There you go.
Yep. Cool. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our question and answer this week.
And our
executive dysfunction summary. Not really thrown together, but like when we were talking about the options, it's like, okay, what can we do? And it's let's do a more casual, relaxed, back and forth episode. People can get to know us better, and we can talk about. Maybe
we can actually sprinkle in some episodes like this every once in a while, anyways, because it might be kind of interesting. Just an unedited. I wouldn't say unplugged because we're plugged in, but like an unedited, unfiltered.
Yeah.
We'll just throw it out there, kind of thing. I don't think we said anything really bad that we would have to edit out, did we?
No.
Worst thing I have to worry about is the dogs barking.
Yeah.
But I can at least turn that down or something. Yeah. I think I'm just gonna not edit it.
Okay.
We'll see what Podbean does to it. It'll take out a lot of the long pauses, which is half of the editing I do anyways, but yeah.
All right.
We'll wrap that up. We'll make executive dysfunction and make another attempt at that for next week. Yeah,
we will be back with you next week with a new episode, and we hope you all have a good week.
Yep. Meanwhile, like, subscribe.
Yep.
Give us comments, feedback,
ideas,
ideas,
whatever you've got.
Yep. Check out our merch store on Shopify. We'll put the link in the description again.
Yep. And if there's any specific merch you're looking for, leave it in comments and we will see what we can do for you. Yep. So
if there's something that we've said that you thought was funny and you're like, hey, I want that on a shirt, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell us.
We can do it.
That's the kind of stuff that I would love to throw out there anyway. So
for sure. Yep. Well, have a good week, guys, and we will be back next week.
Yep. We'll see you. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for diagnosis or treatment of autism or related condition.